So I'm curious how breaking your sunglasses got you started in building this business.
Oh man, the age-old question. Yeah, I my whole life as like a young adult and like a teenager, I'd like really been frustrated by sunglasses. Every time I put them on, they were just annoying for the most part. They like slip down my face. I have like kind of a narrow head, so they'd slip down my nose and they'd fall off. I'd set them down and forget about them, and then I'd set them down and they'd get sat on or stepped on and they'd break. And like I never had sunglasses as a young kid or a young adult because of this. And then I was on a camel safari in India. I was 20 years old and I had just bought this new pair of sunglasses in this little boutique eyewear shop in New Delhi. I loved them. And 4 hours into this camel expedition in the desert, we stopped for lunch. I set the glasses down and someone sat on them and broke the hinges off of them and broke the arms off of them. And so, yeah, I was like, well, this is not the first time this has happened to me, but I actually needed sunglasses this time. And I remembered a quick fix that my brother had used on a Knowles trip in Mexico, where he tied string around the broken hinges and wrapped that string around the back of his head. So I did the same thing. Found some twine, tied it around the hinges, and like kind of dialed in the fit so they weren't like tight like a pair of goggles, yet they weren't going to slip down my nose. Wore them like that for 4 days, racing camels through the desert, and realized over the course of this 4 days that I actually enjoyed the sunglasses more now because they weren't slipping down my nose. They weren't pinching my ears, especially with like a hat on. They like weren't pinching the side of my head, and then I could drop them around my neck and not have to worry about where I put them because they were just right around my neck. And so I got back to civilization from the desert, replaced the twine with a leather cord, and I wore that same kind of MacGyvered pair for 4 years. And this is coming from a guy who loses his wallet like once a week. So this was like a big deal for me that I could hold on to a pair of sunglasses for 4 years. And it was honestly, it was just because they were more practical for me. They were more functional. They made more sense for who I was and how I was handling this certain piece of gear. And enough people came up to me off the street and friends from college or like just bystanders came up and asked, who made that this pair of sunglasses, where they could get a pair. And I was honestly kind of surprised because I'm wearing a pair right now, but you can't really tell much is inherently different when you have them on. But people were interested, and that was because they also had the same frustrations with sunglasses. And I realized that this was something that solved the problem that everyone had. And so the impetus was born there, and that's the backstory. There you go.
So how do you go from homemade pair, leather strap, kicking around 4 years to, yeah, I think I'm going to go for this thing and launch a company? Because you launched it on Indiegogo to start. Is that right? Was that kind of
We
the
did
first time?
launch an Indiegogo. Yep, that was what we did. Um, Man, it was quite the saga, honestly. But it's just one step at a time. I was kind of like, okay, well, the actual like full on impetus was in that pair that I got from India that I had for 4 years. My girlfriend at the time ended up sitting on them, and the glasses didn't break, but the lenses were glass, and those shattered. And so I was like, oh, I want to get these fixed. Brought them to this boutique eyewear shop in Seattle, and the owner was this really nice guy, and he's like, "This is a really cool concept." And I told him kind of my idea behind um, this armless sunglasses concept, and he was like, "Come downstairs with me. Let's go into my office, and we'll talk about it." He's actually one of my like a great friend and a good mentor to me now. But he introduced me to a frame shop in China who produces really high quality acetate frame, and from there started sending like sketches and drawings over to that workshop in China, and they sent me samples and stuff. So we dialed in the attachment process there. And then, I mean, oh, there was so many different aspects. Like finding the cord, like the initial V1 cord was actually came from a pair of like to boot New York, like Italian boots, leather boots that me and my co-founder would like bake with cedar beeswax in our oven to make them waterproof. And then we'd tie a little like half knot, like fisherman knots for the adjustment system. And like basically, oh my gosh, like from initially, like I would go to arts and craft stores and like find these little mahogany beads and dremel them out and then tie a half knot at the end of the cord and like countersink the knot in the bead and then like cap it off with resin. Like it was like a full on like, and we'd hand stitch. Like my fingers would be bleeding from like hand stitching like 30 pairs to send out samples and like come up with this like, and then we ended up finding like this stitch specialist from Louis Vuitton and Filson. He also worked with a few other high quality like designer brands, and we flew him in, and we designed a stitch on the bar tacking machine, the Japanese like Jugi bar tacking machine, with him to kind of create that point where the cord attaches back to itself. And that was what we used for the first 10,000 pairs we sold. And like Nikolai is my co-founder. We actually like made the first 3,000 pairs after our Indiegogo campaign by hand like that. It was wild. But that was really well received, and we quickly realized that while it was a cool handmade artisan pair of sunglasses, absolutely not scalable. And that's kind of what the last 6 years have been spent just dialing in the concept, dialing in the product, and refining every aspect of it to high quality pair of sunglasses.
Did you have like entrepreneurial aspirations before this, or did this just kind of become a
Absolutely.
happen? Okay,
Absolutely. Yeah.
you were looking for something.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually I had a 3-month internship in college where I worked in an office downtown Seattle, and I was like, there's no way. Not happening. So that was the only, like 3 months was how much I spent in an office behind a computer working for someone else in my life. I had like soccer clinics when I was in high school, and in college. I had my own like camps for kids, and then uh, I used to install like unconventional roof systems, so like green roof systems, like vegetated roof systems for residential homes around Seattle area. I did that for a bit, and then my co-founder and I actually started another company together. It was like an unconventional, like we called it Reboot Workation, and it was like an unconventional offsite where we'd bring in like executive teams from Microsoft or Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and we'd basically have this really cool place for them to get work done, and there was like a compound, and then an experiential, like we had like fishing poles and kayaks and stand-up paddle boards, and like a chef from Argentina who would grill on this Argentinian grill. It was a really cool experience. That got shut down because HOA found our compound. We weren't allowed to rent in that community, and so then we kind of pivoted to something that was a bit more scalable, which was this like online armless sunglasses concept.
How long did it take for you guys from like I mean, the idea had been kicking around for a long time, but how long did it take you from, hey, we should do this, to you're working at this full time and it's paying for your life? How many years was that, or how much time was that?
That was like probably 3 years.
Okay. And
Yeah.
you were just kind of piecing it together as you went, with
Mm-hmm.
odd jobs on the side type thing?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I was just, it was, I think like a big part of the entrepreneurial journey is that gamble, and is that risk, and is that like, I think as an entrepreneur, you have to be willing to put yourself in uncomfortable situations, I think. And I think that's what the magic of it is, because so many people are comfortable being comfortable. And that's okay. That's totally fine. Like everyone has different strokes for different folks, but I think like that discomfort and that like unknown is what fires me up.
The sunglass world is huge. Like that market is massive. And
Massive.
there are so many different value propositions and price points and all those things. Like how did you guys determine where do you fit in this market, and like what niche were you going to serve? Like how did you find that, what's the ideal price point? What's the ideal customer profile that I need to look for?
Phenomenal question. I think it came down to like the inherent ethos of the brand, which is like deliver a net benefit impact. So we plant 20 trees for every pair sold. It's the most carbon negative product that we know of on the market through that um, initiative. And my whole goal was just like, how can we as a brand do better? How can we like elevate what's going on in the industry? And that came through like a quality premium product, not this like junky, cheap gooder concept where you buy 5, 6 pairs because you don't care if you break them or lose them or they fall off in the lake. And so with that approach, it was like, yeah, this needs to be, like a high price point, not too high to where it's like completely out of the reach of most. But if someone's willing to invest in their eyes, which like from a visual experience, it's like one of the most important aspects of like how you experience the world is your vision. And so why would you not want to put like a nice pair of lenses between you and whatever you're looking at? And so that was kind of, it just made sense from a brand perspective. Like, yeah, this needs to be a high quality product, warranted for life. If anything happens to it, we'll take care of you because you've made that investment. You've taken that leap.
How do you find those people that, okay, so you could just imagine when you're early days, you're like, okay, well, the Ombraz customer could be a lot of different people, right? Like,
Yeah,
again, there's so many use cases for it.
absolutely.
How do you dial in, or how did you dial in? Like, okay, we can't be all things to all people, but we need to find exactly who we're going to speak to, and who did you speak to early, and kind of where did you find that early traction, or what customer did you find that early traction with?
That's great 2-part question there. I like to think of marketing and like how you attract a customer to like fishing. Like when you're fishing, like you don't just throw a line out there and like with 12 different hooks on it, hoping you catch everything. You're like specifically going after a specific fish, right? And you're not, and like that's, I think the same kind of thing goes towards like how you attract a customer. You have to focus on who you're talking to. And for us, it was like, okay, who can we talk to that like everyone does this, but it might transcend other outdoor activities as well. And that was for us, that was hiking and backpacking. Not only because that was like the world I played in, like I love to backpack, love to be in the mountains in the summertime. But I think like everyone loves to hike down to a river and go swimming for a day or, you know, walk in the woods. Like it's just like it was easy to talk to because I could relate, but also like anyone who does that does a bunch of other things as well. So if we can hit them there, that then they'll realize that this concept works for their other things they're doing, whether that's mountain biking or skiing or snowboarding or in the backcountry, hanging out at the lake. Like it all kind of like transcends. So for us, it was like let's hit on that ultralight backpacking space. It's niche enough to where you can really infiltrate it, and then what happened from there was you get some momentum and actually a couple like world famous bike packers picked us up. Sarah Swallow and Ronnie Romance were two like in 2019. They were wearing like handmade pairs that we had made in our barn. And all of a sudden we were getting this bike packing world just like blew up about knowing about the armless sunglasses concept. And so like now I think some things if you do it right and you build a good product, it just attracts people. And like that kind of grows organically. And now I think our biggest like known market, like the market that we're known the most in, like we have the most brand recognition is that bike packing market just because we had those athletes pick us up and all of a sudden like major athletes who look up to those two individuals were like wanted to try them out and like liked I think the like kind of the fact that we weren't this like high speed low drag look, we were more like an 80s cocaine dad vibe. And I think that was really attractive to that market because we weren't like trying to look like Lance Armstrong on a road bike. It was like you're wearing cut off jean shorts and looking like that. So I think yeah, it was like the aesthetics, the function, and just like a little bit of luck. And like I think that's ultimately what it comes down to is just like the right people finding out about you and having it kind of like spread from there. There's some things you can do and some things are just out of your control. But if you build a good product that actually solves a problem and actually serves a purpose, everything else I think kind of like falls into line, right?
Using I mean, I love the 80s cocaine dad vibe, ideal customer profile. That's, very
Yeah,
niche. I appreciate that. When you're looking at
absolutely.
taking the fishing analogy a little bit, like now you've got years under your belt, you've got some traction, you understand things how they work. are there new categories that you're kind of fishing to, or new customer profiles that you're fishing to?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you still have to remain focused, and you have to speak still to those markets that that you're still involved with, right? Like that you still have that recognition with, because you'll lose them. So we still talk to the bike packers, the bike packers, the through hikers, the ultralight hiking. Um, but as we've like seen this concept kind of take hold, like pilots have loved these. I mean, you're wearing what pilots wear right now, but when you have the sunglasses with the cord, um, it doesn't interfere with the suction of your headphones. And so pilots have been loving these in the cockpit because they can wear their over the ear headsets and not have to worry about that pain that's caused by their sunglasses, or wearing their sunglasses like above their headsets. So that's been a big one. We have like big orders come in from like Navy and like Air Force squadrons as well, who use these for whatever they're doing. And another big one for us is running. So we're just starting to dabble in running because these don't jostle around. They don't slip down your nose. They just disappear. And running is a huge market. I think that's another one that like people who run do, it transcends into a lot of other things as well. So, and then most newest market that we're going to slightly dabble in now, we're releasing a new frame in a month and a half. That's more of like a wrap frame. It's got mirrored lenses that are specifically dialed for every kind of like water slash fishing activity. And so yeah, we've got like our open water blue lens with a gray or blue mirror with a gray tint. We've got like a yellow lens with a green mirror that's going to be like your streams and like rivers. And then we've got like a kind of lake, like brown mirror with a copper lens that's more like kind of mid tier, mid light. So the watermen and women, I think that'll play huge to them. You know, I actually, this is funny enough. I was just on a call with our Zeiss reps before this, because we use Zeiss lenses, which is like a very high end premium lens manufacturer if you go with the right lens. And they were talking about how they've been wearing and like dealing with Costa for 20 years, and Costa's quality has gone down so much since they were purchased by Luxottica, which I'm sure some of the listeners know this, but Luxottica is kind of like being the behemoth, the like monopoly on sunglasses, and they buy all these brands who do well, and then they just extort the product for it. Every single piece of quality is replaced with a cheap mass-produced piece once that brand recognition's out there. And now Costas are like like a, a piece of shit, for lack of a better term. Their lenses are terrible. Their hinges are terrible. The frames are terrible. They feel like and like Oakley's the same thing. You look at a pair of Oakleys and you're like, this feels like a shitty pair of sunglasses. Like, why am I paying $230 for this? $230 for this? Like, insane. And sorry, I've digressed. But like really, like for us, it's just like a premium sunglass at a relatively approachable price point. And we don't like I don't have any pull to want to like maximize profits and like reduce the quality of the product. Like it's not how you win a customer over. That's not how you build a brand that stands the test of time. And so yeah, it's a great product. It's a really high quality pair of glasses that made in Italy, um, lifetime warranty. And so those things, that's important, I think, to like just speak to any niche, anyone we're targeting. Is just like, yeah, it's a great lens, and we have a lens for you for that specific activity. Paddling's another one. Like rafters and kayakers love these so they don't fall off. I mean, really, Christian, like anytime you're moving or walking or doing anything outside and need a pair of sunglasses, a pair of armless sunglasses is actually just going to be a better experience.
They make a lot of sense. They make a lot of
Yeah,
sense. When you are
yeah.
approaching a new category, so you've got a product line expansion in the sense of like your product is specifically going to target people in the water, or fishing is what you mentioned. When you go
Mm-hmm.
and launch this, like what are you doing from a branding perspective or a marketing perspective to speak to that specific customer? Like, yes, you've got a new product, but like what are you changing or what are you doing so that you can go? Strangely enough, the first time I saw Ombraz was on somebody fishing because I fly fish and
Cool.
I saw
Oh,
somebody.
sick.
So you're already there. I've already there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of fly fish who already use them, But how are you going to speak to them specifically, from a branding perspective, marketing, ads type thing? Or do you change it? Or do you just kind of keep going?
No, you don't. I think you have to have at least on like on our site. Like we have like our activity specific niches, right? And like you have to have imagery that speaks to those niches. People have to be able to relate in some way. Like see someone fishing or see someone in a cockpit wearing a pair of these. So when we go after another niche, it's like, okay, we need to like there's a number of things we do. But like first off is like we need to generate content that like showcases that specific niche, and we need to do it differently, and we need to do it on brand and fun. So it's not just like go take a picture of a guy holding a fishing pole. It's like no, like let's make this entertaining. Like how can we make this to where people want to consume this? Because I think that's been a big part of our success is like approaching content the same way we approach our product is like we need to do this different. We need to do this well because there's so much noise and there's so many people trying to tell its story and doing it poorly. And so if we're going to succeed online, we have to be a media company as well that creates really engaging, really fun, really quirky stuff. So with that approach, then we'll go do that. We'll also track down, top publications in that space, in that niche, and make sure we're getting pairs to all those editors. And that's like a longer lead time. That'll take maybe like, and we don't have samples. We don't have like 40 samples to send to those editors before we launch. So that comes after, hopefully we get 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 publications who write about us well after, but that just helps that momentum keep going. Then we'll track down, we'll track down key YouTube accounts in that space or like ambassadors who just like dabble in that space and we get a pair on them and we offer them affiliate, you know, partnerships where, they get like a 15% kickback on every pair that they channel to ombraz.com. So it's like a mutually beneficial relationship. I mean, that's a big one. Affiliate's huge these days. It's kind of like the new PR and the new way that people approach online marketing is like, it's like, Outside Magazine, like Backpacker Magazine, like people don't really read like tangible magazines anymore. Sadly, I wish they did. They're freaking awesome. But a lot of it just comes through that affiliate. Like, so it's like, how much can we afford to give to those publications or individuals who are pushing traffic to ombraz.com? And managing that and like telling the right stories and really like doing a good job of engaging and interacting with those people is a really important way in how you can succeed in any niche vertical, and finding the right people to that can tell that story and who have an audience that like is actually open to that product is also important. Yeah, I don't know. That's a long-winded response, but that there's a lot of little tactics like that go
For sure.
into, and you have to be very intentional with it. And that's a good kind of like blueprint, I think.
I like that you brought
Dirt.
up um, you have to be a content company or a media company alongside with
Mm-hmm.
being, product. From the very beginning, you guys have really been strong with the visuals and the video. You guys are strong with it. That is a challenge. Every new brand is challenged with like that's the reality is the language of the internet is video, and you've got to be able to speak to it or at least visual. If it's not video, it's visual. So how did you do that from the early stages when budgets were tight and you guys was it all in-house? Did you have like how
All in house, all
and
in
then how's it
house.
now?
It's still in house. We do everything in house, and I think that it's so easy to like. I mean, I have 230 emails in my inbox right now from agencies trying to like sell me something, trying to
Right.
get me on board with something, whether that's anything. I mean, every aspect across the business. And like, we've kept everything in house from day one, including media and content creation. And that's because no one's going to care more than we do. No one's going to do like, no one's going to understand the product more than we do. No one's going to invest the time and energy and effort to making something actually unique. They're just going to and I think that's one reason why I don't mean to sound cynical, but one reason why so many outdoor brands in the space feel so like soulless and bland is because they have these agencies creating media for them that just like every brand feels and looks the same. Like you go to like most brands Instagrams and it's just like, I don't know if this is A from B. You can't really tell. It just all is like the same kind of like, it's almost like this contrived outdoors feel where it's like they're not actually out there enjoying what they're doing, or they're not actually, this isn't authentic. This is like completely contrived. And that comes through, that feeling comes through the media. And so anytime we're shooting, it's like, let's get friends together and go just have fun. Do something weird. Like yesterday at Nelson, I don't know if you, this is a fun little tangent, but I met this dude with like this crazy long red beard and long red hair. I don't know if you've seen him in town, but he was riding his bike, and I saw him on the bridge one day, and I was like, I chased him down because I wanted to shoot with him. Like, the guy's got an amazing look. Like, he would be awesome to shoot with or ads. And like, he like turned a corner before I was able to turn my car around, and I lost him. And then I ended up meeting him again on a hut trip. Like, he just like emerged out of the woods, was buddies with my friend, and I was like, no way, you're the guy. And like, so we shot up there. But then yesterday we had a shoot in town where like we're doing a running shoot on the bridge with this like epic outfit, and then like he's just holding a pineapple and like with a long twirly straw and like drinking it while he's running, and like no one like that little aspect makes it all of a sudden like entertaining. Whereas like now it's like, what's this dude, like crazy dude with this crazy like he looks like Forrest Gump running across the country, like with just like fiery red hair and beard, drinking from a pineapple. It's like, that's just weird. That's entertaining. Like, it's something someone hasn't seen before. And so yeah, I think that approach helps us differentiate ourselves because we just like do things weird and quirky and want to create something that like no matter what, like it's not it's not like groundbreaking, but it's like it's not just like a guy running on a bridge.
And so then is it you and Nikolai creating the content, or do you guys have like, people on your team who are creating content? Is it, what does it look like?
It's me mostly, and then one of my best friends also is an incredible photographer, and so I've learned a lot from him over the years. And that's not easy, you know. That's like I say that like, yeah, we do it in house, but like it's a really difficult part of what we do, and it's a lot of energy and a lot of work, and like a lot, like it's a skill set that not a lot of people have. So my advice for someone who feels like they don't have that skill set would just be to find someone you trust who wants to actually like take the time to put in the work to make it good. Like and that's hard to find, but there's people out there who are passionate about what they do, and like passionate about that creation like construct. So yeah,
What does your team look like right now? How many people work at Ombraz?
we have like 4 full-time employees, myself, my co-founder, director of marketing, and the director of supply chain and ops. And then we have about 9 to 10 contractors. So we've got an industrial designer who used to be the head of product development at Oakley and the head of 3D development at Smith. He's awesome. Um, I love building alongside him. He was a huge asset to the company. We've got like an ad manager who handles like all of our back end Meta and Google ads, just in terms of like plugging and playing and funnels and the audiences and all that. We've got a web dev team. We've got a customer service manager. We have a PR and ads, or a PR and social media manager. They do like all of our PR and all of our like DMs and comments. They respond to all that and keep people engaged and answer any questions we get on the socials. Um, who am I missing?
And those are all
We've got
contractors.
those are all contractors. We got a graphic designer, we got a video editor, and all of these people have worked with us for like 4, 5, 6 years. So it's like it's a team. Like, you know, I'd say we have like a 14-person team, but having that 1099 just gives us that flexibility a little bit more. And like it's not like not all those roles are 40 hours a week. So it's like, yeah, as a contractor, you just like fill your time with whatever else you need. But like you're gonna what you know, like we pay well and we take care. I mean, we have a great like we have a really great team that I really enjoy working with. And I think as a founder and as anyone who's like a leader of an organization, that is like the most important part. And also the most difficult part is like finding a team players who like can drive autonomous trusted value. That's not easy.
Sure.
Much more difficult than creating content with a dude running on a bridge holding a pineapple. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, for sure. as the company grows and matures, like what have you had to improve on as a company and a brand?
That's a great segue from what we were just talking about. Being um like leading and managing is completely different than doing everything yourself. It's or like handling doing something yourself. And I think like a great way to gauge whether or not you're ready to bring on team members is if like you think someone could do a better job at that than you could because your bandwidth's stretched too thin or it's not your expertise, whatever it is. Like if you know for certain no one in the world could do a better job than you, then don't hand that over. But if you think someone can, it's time to fill that seat if you can afford it. So yeah. And then find like for me, like the trials and tribulations of finding the right talent and the hiring process, like that's a huge, huge learning curve. And I think that you got to trust your gut and you know right away whether someone's going to be a good fit or not. And for us, I think a few mistakes we've made is just like holding on to it, keeping employees around for too long when we know that they're not operating at an A+ level. Like that's you gotta just like bite the bullet, rip the band-aid off. And it can be daunting sometimes because that leaves you with a little bit of a hole or like a little bit of like, you have to fill those gaps. But overall, like you're gonna take so much more time and energy, like spending it on an employee who's not the right fit or not driving value, than if you just do a little bit of the work yourself in the meantime while you fill that role. And finding talents, I mean, I don't even have a great solution for that. That's just like you got to tap into your network. A lot of it's luck, and a lot of it comes down to building a great organization that will attract top talent.
You mentioned something about, hiring somebody. If there's somebody who can do this better than you, hire somebody. And there's a lot of early stage entrepreneur founders who are like thinking to themselves right now, oh man, there's a lot of people who can do a lot of this stuff better than me, but I don't have the money to pay them. At what point
Yeah,
did you guys say, you gotta almost have to get comfortable with that outlaying the cash before you see the results? It's like the chicken and the egg conundrum. What was it like for you guys making that decision? Was it clear and obvious, or was it like, oh, we're going to take a risk here and bring somebody in and spend more than we think we have at the moment, knowing that it's going to pay off in the end? Like, how did you balance that risk or uncertainty?
I we did do a raise after we launched on Indiegogo. 2 years later, 2020, we did like a Series A raise. So we had the cash to be able to afford it. Um, we got great terms. We have an incredible investor who's like, yeah, I mean, I think we got extremely lucky given the circumstances. Like, if you can retain a large portion of your company and still raise a little bit of money, it gives you that flexibility to not have stress and not be just like freaking out every day about whether or not you're going to survive. And for me, that was really important. I was like, I want to be able to like tackle projects and grow this company without like having to. And it's really hard to grow a brand without cash in the bank because you can invest in inventory, and inventory is what allows you to grow. And so that's been our biggest struggle is just like having cash tied up in inventory and not having the cash to go out and like potentially like activate certain marketing things we want to do or whatnot just because we're held up from cash. But like being able to invest in a team that you can grow with ultimately is the most scalable option, I think, as a business. Like it's not scalable to do everything yourself. I was actually I don't know if you've heard of Gozo pans. They're out of Nelson.
Heck yeah, Brent
Brent,
Frickser. Shout out Brent. He's
yeah,
listening to this.
yeah, Brent's listening. Hell yeah, I love Brent. He left a note on my rig up at Whitewater. It was like, hey, I'm Brent. Like I love this Gozo company. Like, uh, let's get coffee. So I actually met with him yesterday. He's great, great product, great guy. Um, he's shipping all of his stuff himself out of his garage. And I was like, that's the first thing I was like, Brent, you can't do that. Like you won't be able to focus on like the vision and strategy and like the growth aspect of what you need to be focusing on if you're packaging up and shipping your product every day. Like it's just like that's that's bandwidth that you should not be allocating to that right now. And so that was a big like I think like it's those small things. Same with customer service, right? Like shouldn't be doing your customer service. Like you should do it for the first 6 months to 8 months so you understand the problems and understand like how you can address this with new product iterations. But like after that, like don't spend your time doing your customer service. Like have someone do that for $20 an hour who who you trust, who's good. But like you gotta allocate. You have to, otherwise there's no way that you'll be able to grow and scale.
I love. All right, now this is the voice of God has spoken. Brent has to get a 3PL now. It's funny because
Yeah, and I told him
that
he was walking away in the parking lot. I was like, Brent, 3PL like tomorrow. Like it's you gotta do it.
no pressure, Brent. That's something that he and I have talked about a lot too. So I'm glad he's here for another side. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard to let go of those things. It's hard to find the right partner. It's scary to put your hands, or sorry, you put your product in somebody else's hands. It's scary to put your customer
Pans,
ser
put your pans in someone's hands.
put your hands in their hands. It's
Uh,
scary to put your customer service in somebody's hands too, right? And that's one of those
yeah,
things where it's like I'm sure you're experiencing that as you grow the team and as you grow is like
yeah.
letting go of these things that you
Letting
see to be
go.
your
Let
precious
you have
babies.
to let go as your precious babies, and it's like I've had like a few talks uh about this. Even when it comes to just like product design and like it's almost like your ego. You got to let go of your ego, and you have to like if you can't let go of your ego, you can't keep that in check, and you can't let go of things. Like you will not succeed. And I think that is comes hand in hand with what we were talking about earlier of like if you find the right person, that's the most important thing. Like letting go is one thing, but then finding the right talent, the finding that person who's smart, who can think on their feet, who can work autonomously, who you can trust, that is the hardest part, but the most important part of that process. Because if you find that right person, it's no problem. They're doing a better job than you would have. And they're out there. There's a lot of friggin' people in this world. And so you just have to find the right people to do it. That's the
Yeah.
hardest part.
Yeah, and get creative of helping them find slowly come into it, work moonlight for the business or do whatever it is because if you're doing something cool, it's going to attract cool people like you said earlier. Or maybe not cool is the word, but if you're doing something interesting and it's going to attract interesting people.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to go back to the investment thing for just 1 second because I think that's an important note. It's something we've brought up on, and I've had conversations on this podcast with other people about is like the pros and cons of investment. You're obviously coming from like this was a pro good situation for you. Do you have multiple investors? Do you have one investor? How did you find them, and what does that look like? You don't have to go into the specific details, but just kind of help paint the picture so people can. This is essentially a counterpoint to some of the points I've made in the past because I've been like retain, earn, don't bring an investment if you don't have to. So I like your counterpoint to this, and I'd like to hear your
Yeah.
opinion.
I mean, I only have that opinion because we gave away like the smallest piece of pie ever. Like it was like it was non-issue for me. Um, like it wasn't like we gave away 50% of the company. Like I never would suggest doing that. I would suggest doing another crowdfunding campaign if you need cash. If you want like that's how it would grow the business. If you don't have the numbers and the EBITDA and all that gives you a strong valuation. Um, Thankfully for sunglasses, there's just like a very high margin and like a huge market. So it was, like there's a lot of people that can benefit from using one of these. So there's a lot of potential. It's your network like that your network and your mentors are the most important. Another one of the most important things you can do as a founder is like building out a Rolodex of smart, successful people who you can turn to for advice. As a founder, especially like a sole founder without a co-founder. A lot of the time, I think you can feel like you're steering a ship in the dark by yourself, and that's the worst feeling to have. And what you realize is like you can surround yourself with people who have also steered the ship in the dark by themselves and made mistakes and had successes. And if you can build out a network of people who you can turn to when you have issues or have questions, like that's how you can steer the ship. And so for us, like building that, like being gregarious, being tenacious and building out that network opens up the doors for so many opportunities. Like potential investors, right? You just like, someone who knows someone who has a incubator or what, whatever it is, like you just get, you have to build that network for yourself. And so that's how we found our investors, was through one of our mentors who we met out of Bend, Oregon. Had this fellow who invested in Hydro Flask for a couple million and sold it for like
More than
200,
a couple
400,
million.
300x that. So yeah, maybe 200x that. So yeah, it was just, lucky, but also because we had put a lot of time and energy into like, yeah, designing and a robust Rolodex of mentors. And that's the number one advice I would give to any entrepreneur is you can never have enough mentors, and you can never ask enough questions to smart people who have had similar problems to you. And you're not the first person to have this problem, no matter what the problem is. Someone solved it before. And if you have someone in your sphere who you can turn to for help and not regarding that specific problem, you're going to find success.
How do you suggest people go and find those mentors?
Um,
What worked for you?
man, everything under the sun, like trade shows, retailer shows, like uh friends of friends who are doing cool things, um cold calling, DMs. Like, I mean, you just have to be tenacious. It's like anything, like you just have to put in the work. And I think that people who are intelligent and successful will like see that in you, that you are inquisitive, that you want to learn, and that you're, doing something right. If you're doing something right, people will be attracted to that and want to help you. And people like to talk about their successes and and like, like anyone who's successful, like you talk to them about it and they just want to open up and tell you about what they did or what they didn't do. And I think it's rewarding for both ends of the spectrum. Um, and when you have enough mentors, you don't have to keep going back to the same one. You can pick and choose, and it's really easy to get caught like in the tunnel vision of just like packaging up and sending out your stuff and doing your day-to-day customer service and what have you, to like not invest your time in that. But like that greater picture, greater thinking of like building that mentor Rolodex or network is what is like, that's, as a founder, one of the most important things you can do. And there's so like, there's no like right or wrong or like specific like recipe to do it. It's just doing it.
You've brought up Nikolai, your co-founder, a few times, and I would definitely want to bring that relationship into the conversation. I'm curious what that relationship looks like from kind of co-founder standpoint on the day-to-day operations side, but also on the big picture strategic side. Like, how do you guys make decisions together? How do you divide and conquer? Like, what does that look like?
Christian, man, you freaking nailing it with these questions. You've done this before. um, we're really lucky because we balance each other out in terms of our strengths and in terms of what actually fires us up. So he's like supply chain and operations and distribution, and I'm like product and brand and marketing. So we just, and that's why we started this company together, because we worked together on that like offsite reboot workation concept, and we realized that we had strengths and weaknesses that complemented each other really well for a business. Um, and so whether or not you have a co-founder or you're bringing in like a partner or whatever it is, your first hire, like I think it's really important to balance those strengths, balance those weaknesses, because that allows you to focus on what you're good at.
When it comes to big decisions, how do you guys? I'm really fascinated with how people make decisions on an
Oh
individual
yeah.
level, but also how do you make decisions now that you've got, you're essentially in a work marriage with this person. A
Yeah.
lot of
Oh,
things
we're
are tied to
married
each other.
for
How,
sure.
how do you
We've
make decisions together?
Phenomenal question. we have a set of core pillars that we operate with as a brand. I'm going to bring them up because I think they're very important for what we do and how we make decisions. And as long as like this, like you can, this a decision addresses these core pillars, it's usually the right decision. And we're usually pretty aligned. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You want me to read them really quick?
Would love to hear them.
Okay, cool. So this is like our approach to making decisions and steering the ship. Uh, One, nothing is better. So we believe that armless sunglasses provide an unrivaled experience because they do. So the sky's the limit in that regard. Protect the brand. So we're building something unique and special. Make decisions that protect and elevate what we're building and never sacrifice the brand for short-term wins. That one really helps. That one's like a big one. Raise the bar. So maintain relentlessly high standards that exceed expectations. Quality is first, always. That one also helps us make decisions when it comes to product. Deliver a net benefit impact. So generate net benefit, environmental, social, and financial impacts from our supply chain partners to our employees and customers. Create a positive experience for everyone who interacts with us. Also help us make decisions. Like, is this detracting from the experience someone has with us, or is this making it a better experience for someone? Be curious and think outside the box. Use your problem solving nature to navigate around dead ends and drive results. Ask questions, be a knowledge sponge, and bend the rules of normalcy. Also helps us make decisions. Simplify. So take a minimalist approach to alleviate complications and enable growth. So a lot of the time it's like, does this simplify things? Does this enable us to scale? If it doesn't, if this makes something more complex, why would we activate this? That's a huge one. Find mentors, forge relationships with smart people who can help you grow personally and professionally. Think scalably. Invent processes that address the root cause of an issue and don't create extra work. Deep dive and make data-driven decisions. So that one, data helps us make decisions a lot, but also it's like that goes hand in hand with just like gut feeling and the brand. But I think if you approach these, and then the last one is have some damn fun. So like if you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong. But for those, like with those pillars, we're able to pretty much address anything that we have an issue with and make a decision based off of that. And that helps us stay in line and keep hold of the brand ethos as we grow and as the team grows.
I love that. Something I like to say is that I usually think of like core values on an individual level as like core values. And that's essentially what you've said. Those pillars are essentially Ombraz core values. And what I like to say is like our core values are the filter that we run our decisions through. And it
Yeah.
sounds like that's exactly what you've kind of created this really amazing filter that you, Nikolai, and the team could say, well, we got to run all these decisions through this filter first. And then that makes decision making way easier down the road.
Way easier. Yeah, thanks for asking that. That's a really good question. Decision making is tough. And it can be divisive at times. Nikolai and I have had moments where we don't agree on things, and we actually took we had this like business coach who was the wife of one of our mentors, and she's incredible. And we walked through. It was like a 6-week course about just like dealing with stress and dealing with adversity and how you handle it with like a partner, whether that's romantic or business or whoever it is, a friendship. And that was also incredibly helpful for us. So um, those kind of things are out there, and I think they're important investments. If there is any time in which there are like adversities with a partner, like a business partner or whatnot, like being able to handle it with the right tools just helps you grow and flourish as well.
That echoes something that Dario Phillips, somebody I interviewed a few episodes ago, he is one of the founders of Slow Tide towels. And
Okay, cool.
he and his two co-founders did a very similar exercise with a coach around decision making and around like how do you manage their relationships together. And
How do you
yeah,
manage relationships together? Yeah,
he
cool.
said
What do you
that
say?
was
Sorry.
oh no, it's just like that to him was like a significant step change in taking the business to a different space, right? Because then now we have a shared foundation that's almost coming from outside. It's like a third party is helping you build this foundation that then we can reference.
Absolutely. The name of what the book that like kind of this was like based off of is called Positive Intelligence by Shirzad Shamin, and quite incredible approach he takes for anyone who's interested. And it's yeah, you can like yeah, I mean you can read the book and learn about the entire process of dealing with stress and dealing with decision making and treating people well through adversity. It's yeah, it was kind of groundbreaking, life changing, and yeah, people should read it. So that's my one
Amazing.
book rec.
I like it. I'll put a link to that book in the show notes for everybody to check out. So we should bring this up. If you're listening to this and not watching this, Jensen is in is a couple of miles away from me here in the here in Nelson, sitting by the Kootenai River. Just amazing outdoor background, best background I've ever had an interview with somebody. So you should definitely check it out on YouTube because you get a little taste of the Kootenays in the background. And you first came across my radar as like somebody who's connected to the Kootenays because I heard that you were living in your van in the Whitewater parking lot last winter, and then turns out you're back here again this year doing the same thing. So you're definitely drawn to the Kootenays, which we love as a Kootenai-based organization. When I met your co-founder Nikolai last year at the GOA show, he said that he had spent the winter doing something similar, but in much warmer climates. So obviously, you two are both into remote work and living adventure. Talk to me about how you guys have set the business up so that he can be surfing in Mexico and you can be snowboarding in the Kootenays while running this business.
Yeah, we've flanked the dumpster fire. He's in Mexico, I'm in Canada. We're just kind of like skipping over that middle part. But no, I'm just kidding. From the get go, I think this kind of goes back to what I talked about earlier about not being able to just sit in an office. And I think there is merit to having a team all together working together. I'm pretty sure we could probably grow a little bit faster and a little bit more like uh what's the word? Little just seconds like succinct. Um if we were all together, but I think that comes with a sacrifice of like freedom. And for us, that was really important. And like I think for Nikolai and myself, like the freedom to move about and explore this wonderful world that we have is like the utmost importance. And if we can do that um, while building, I think like that gives us a bit of purpose on our travels and adventures as well. I know like a lot of people will, travel and be like surfing in Mexico for a couple months, but not have like a focus, right? And you almost like that almost can in itself be frustrating because it's like you have nothing to really do. And so for us, traveling, being able to travel and live remotely, but also be able to go sit in a cafe any day we want and get real good work done and like work alongside our team, that to me is so fulfilling and so rewarding. It almost makes me appreciate traveling a bit more. It also makes me so I can afford it. But I'd say like to answer your question, it comes down to how organized you are as an organization. And if you have like a great communication channel. So we use Slack as like our day-to-day communication, but we use monday.com as our like project and like and it's the way we manage and organize projects. And that allows us to all be working remotely, but be focused and like know where we're at and like what we need to be focusing on. Um, and that's super important. So if we didn't have those tools, it'd be very difficult. But with those tools and implemented the right way, we're all of a sudden like super efficient and super effective as a remote team. And it also allows us to attract top talent, not only around the US and North America, but around the world. Like that's also super important. It makes it it's a lot more difficult to scale a business with like talent in Nelson, BC than it is like finding talent around all of North America.
Yeah, for sure. It can be challenging to scale up a business in Nelson
Yeah.
because not everybody can live here.
No, absolutely not. And like, yeah, like I think too, just second part of that is like if it's the right employee, that like you trust and you know is like gonna do a good job, like whether they're coming in or working remote, like they're gonna get good work done. And the wrong employee won't. The wrong employee will take advantage of that scenario, and that is like another filter of just like it just goes to show you how like if it's the right person, you can trust them to get good work done without them needing to come into an office every day.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to get into, I want to get into deeper about like how that actually, the day-to-day function of being able to work from the road and all those things is it's, you know, I've tried it myself and it's great. I'm sure you eventually get into rhythm and running the team, but I want to be, excuse me, I want to be cognizant of the time. So I want to try to land this plane here um, with a couple of questions. Where do you want to be as an entrepreneur in the next 3 years? Like, how do you want to grow as an entrepreneur?
Good question. Um, I want to be running an organization with like people that I love working alongside. I think that's really important. And I want to do it in a way that allows us to partake in projects and ideas that we can afford to do. So like having the capital to do so, and that means just like building like a profitable and like sustainable business that like has the strong foundation to stand the test of time. Um, like I want to build a. I'm trying to be in the process of building a company that's kind of like respected by the industry, revered for our environmental stewardship, and loved by our customers. And like if I can do that and do that in a way that allows us to like have a profitable organization, then I feel like I'm doing a good job.
The question I always end with is how do you define success for yourself?
That plays into for me, success is just like how little am I stressed out? Like, man, I don't want to be stressed by work ever. Like, if you're stressed by work, like that's like taking the biggest toll on not only your like emotional health, but your physical health. So that's the most important thing. And then the second part is like, how much fun? How much are you laughing? Like that also is like the second most important thing to me. Because if you're not having fun and you're not laughing and smiling and enjoying and passionate about what you do, um, you should find something else that makes you happy. Because that's the most important thing. So it doesn't matter for me, like how many pairs we sell or what our margins are. For me, it's like how much am I enjoying this? How much am I fired up creatively? And how much am I having fun and enjoying the people that I get to talk to and work with and the relationships that I get to build.
Right? It's well, from the outside, it seems like you're living that successful life then.
Hey, thanks, man. Hey, that was I really enjoyed this conversation, and I think you asked some phenomenal questions. It's like it feels weird to just like talk about yourself for an hour. So yeah,
Recognize that.
sorry to the listeners for that. I promise I'm also good at asking questions.
No, that's what you're here. You played the role. This is what you're here for, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I understand it. It's not always great to talk about it, but there's a lot of value that you're bringing to the people who are listening, like Brent, and like others who are listening to this, and like you're running it's an aspirational business that you're running, you know, from the outside, and especially the
Hmm.
way that you and Nikolai are doing it, like you said, you know, like being able to live the life you want and not feel like you've got this huge burden around your neck, and also having a profitable business. That, that's admirable. That's a lot of
Yeah.
people want that for
It's not
themselves.
it's not easy. It's not easy. If you have a good product and and you make smart decisions, that I think it is doable. But it's yeah, it's definitely not easy. And I think yeah, Nikolai and I like we like absolutely love each other, which is like also the most important part of like a successful business partnership is just like that love for each other. And like Yeah, like Nikolai left me like the nicest voice note, just like the week before I left for that hut trip on my birthday, just like telling me how much he loved me, and like that kind of that meant a lot. So, uh, I think that's one reason why I've been able to have so much success is just the mutual respect we have for one another and knowing what we each bring to the table.
It's amazing. Well, you're a fortunate man, and it's amazing the work that you put into it. You and Nikolai both put into it, and I wish you more of that success going forward because it's fun to watch from the outside for sure.
Thank you. We're having a blast. I'll leave it with if any listeners are interested in just like, building out their mentor Rolodex or want to have ask any questions specifically, like I'm happy. Like I said, I have like I'm not the best in my email, but I will respond eventually. Um, and yeah, I think I encourage anyone that has questions or wants to know more to just reach out. Like I think that's a really important part of what we're all doing is that like open line of communication and that like relationship building aspect. So yeah, feel free. I don't know. You can even leave my email and it's out there in the ether. I haven't like people find it. So it's just jensen@ombraz.com, but you can, yeah, feel free to hit me up.
Good.
Christian, I really enjoyed this conversation and I really appreciate you tracking this down to get this on the books. So hopefully I get to ride Weimer with you at some point.
Yeah, we'll do it in real life. Well,
Yeah.
Jason, I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much for your time.
Yeah. Thank you.